Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Monene Gedera. This is the Grow That Brand podcast, where we want you to do one thing, and that is to identify your solutions, package them very well, and offer them to the right people or to as many people. That is your brand. And today, we have an amazing conversation with a phenomenal woman, an inspiring woman, high-achieving woman. You will really love this conversation. And you not only love it, you will come out with action points, nuggets. That is usually the results of, every time she's in a conversation, every time she's somewhere speaking. If you've watched her online, on TV, that is usually her outcome. You will have action points to, start taking action from tomorrow morning. Yes. So I'm delighted to have Madam Coletta Macharia with me. Yes. And before she introduces herself, let me give you a brief bio about her. So Coletta Macharia, she's a specialist in leadership development. She's a life coach. She's a career strategist. So if you've been wondering how to navigate your career, this is the conversation for you. She actually has a very resourceful book, which I believe she will talk about. She's a corporate trainer. She's an employability skills mentor. She's an author of various books. And then she helps teams and professionals succeed by cultivating their unique strengths. So wacha mimi niachie hapo. She will tell us the rest. Madam Coletta, karibu sana.
Wow, thank you. Thank you very much. I'm still looking for that person you introduced. That's quite a setup there. But I'm really glad to be here. And sorry, what was the question?
Just warming up. But we can start from how has 2025 started for you?
Yeah, 2025 has started really well. First of all, January has moved too fast. I have not seen a January like this one before. It feels like it's really speeding, which is fine. So 2025 looks like a very promising year, a year of harvest. And I was just reflecting and thinking about the last 10 years. Cogent Afrique, the company that is the vehicle, for the work that I do. We registered it in 2014, January.
Wow.
And so this month marks 10 years. So it's a season
10 or 11?
2014. 2014, this is 20 what?
25.
Oh, so it's actually 11 years.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I missed the mark, right? I forgot to celebrate last year.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the 11th year.
Mm-hmm.
And just looking back at, the people that we have worked with,
mm-hmm.
The people who've come back and said, you know what, I have more confidence. Now I have a clearer path. I know who I am. I'm more in touch with my values.
Mm-hmm.
I have a game plan for my life.
Wow.
It's really fulfilling to see that. And now we are looking, 2025 is launching the next phase. Which is going to be even greater and more impactful. And so it's promising to be a year of harvest, things that we have planted, things that we have tended over those years are going to be coming to fruition now. And so we're really excited about that. I am excited about that. And I am looking forward to greater things ahead. And so my word for this year, 2025, is focus.
Focus.
Yes. Which means that, I have a certain path that I'm looking at, I'm focusing on, and it means I have to make peace with missing out on some things. And so there is no room for FOMO, fear of missing out. Yeah.
Wow, that's really great. How do you feel that you have a brand that is now almost being a teenager?
It's exciting. It's not something that I thought about much, but the moment I realized, wait, a decade has passed. We are now in the 11th year, even though I've been coaching a little longer than that, because the company was registered maybe a couple of years or something after I had been working with people. And it feels almost surreal, because much as it's not, like this huge establishment or this huge business that is very famous, it's in the people that we have coached, the people we have trained, the people that we have worked with and helped to get clarity. I feel like, for Cogent Afrique now, and me as a coach, being in that stage, being in that season, it's a time of, looking back, making adjustments and learning, relearning, and envisioning even further. Yeah.
Great. Fantastic. I'm sure we will get much more into that as we proceed.
Yeah.
Now, you wear so many hats. And, for example, you're a career strategist, leadership coach, master trainer, author, wife, mom, and so many other hats. So, maybe you can tell us, how do you manage to balance all this?
Yeah, that's a good question. And for me, it's not so much attempting to balance. Because, when you talk about balance, it means that something, there are things on the opposite ends of the scale, and you could tilt either way. So it's more integrating who I am and what I do. And it's a very intentional process. And I'm blessed in the sense that somehow all those roles, they really fit in very well into who I am. So, for example, as a coach, the work I do helps me to also understand and to bring out the best in my boys and other family members. The work I do in training allows me opportunities also to collaborate with different family members, because so I have a husband and two boys, and each of them in their path, they are very they have several accomplishments, and they embrace their paths very, very passionately. And I'm able to learn from and to borrow and also to input into those paths in one way or another. And so all these roles, there's a way that they mesh and they integrate in a way that is a blessing to everyone, really.
Great. Is it, you've made it sound so easy. And, every time I talk to business leaders, entrepreneurs, they always find it very challenging to wear all these hats and, be intentional in all of them. So maybe you can touch on the intentionality part of how perhaps we can go about it, being intentional as you wear all these hats. Yeah.
There is no one size fits all. It's everybody has to look at their own situations. For example, in our situation, our kids are big. They are one is off studying abroad and the other is here doing his own thing, and so we are not in that stage where it's hands-on parenting or it's a lot of involvement. There are no school soccer games to go to and things like that. And so I can say, yes, it's a little easier in that sense. So depending on whatever stage you're at, seasons are different for different people, and different seasons will demand different things. And so for us where we are, even in our careers, as for my husband and I, we've grown to the point where we're able to appreciate each person's, individual needs for their own growth. And then there's also now the corporate need for growth as the family. And it takes time. And I can't say that it's always been this way. Because when the boys were younger, then, there were so many more things to juggle. There was a lot more involvement. And they're different. They have different programs. They have different needs, and so you're needed in so many other ways. And so yes, it was not as easy then, but the stage we are at, it's become easier. And so even for those people who are juggling and who are trying to integrate all these things, it gets easier with time as seasons pass and as the kids grow.
Great.
Yeah.
So now you're very famous for the book, how to design your career game plan. So perhaps you could walk us through that framework and how resourceful and impactful it is when it comes to navigating careers or, designing your career. Yeah.
Interesting, you should say I'm very famous. I don't know about that, but many people know me for that, for that book and that framework, because it's really something that has been a game changer for the people that we have worked with since it was published around 2020. And it was published at the height of COVID. People were in lockdown. And it was a time where people were also thinking, in terms of their careers and their lives, okay? And so the game plan framework is a tool that professionals at whatever level, whether it's entry level, as students perhaps at the university or, going into their first job, or at the mid-level, people who've been working for a while, they've had several roles and they're thinking about moving to the next stage, maybe it's the senior or leadership position. And then also now for the people who are at the senior level thinking about their next move, whether it's packaging themselves, whether it's transitioning, whatever it is that they have in mind. So it's a tool that helps people at those different stages. It's very versatile, very customizable to wherever you are. And it comes in two parts. So the first part, game, is where we focus on self-awareness. And so we help people think about their game, gifts. What are your gifts in terms of talents, in terms of, your leanings, the things that come easy for you, the things that you really enjoy doing most. And then, because that's where you're likely to have the most success and the most impact, right? And then we look at the attributes, and this is with regard to the character, which is really, really important in terms of one's growth, even in their career and generally in life. And then motivation, which is your why. Why am I doing this? Why do I need this? Why, should I pursue a career in this and not that? So, and each person's why is different. And so we help people to really think about their values, what's most important for them. And then the last part, E, is about the experience. How do you bring together your experience, whether it's in the process of your vertical development or your horizontal development, the courses, the skills, the academic work, and then vertical in terms of the life experiences that have really helped you to increase your capacity to do more. So that's the game part. And then the next part is the plan part, which is now all about aligning the game, that is now the gifts, who you are and what you bring, aligning that with the opportunities. And so the opportunities, we look at them in terms of the playground. Which playground are you going to be playing at? And then what's your leverage? Because everybody has that thing or those things that really help them to stand out. So how do they leverage that? So that's the L. And then there's the A, which is how they articulate their value proposition. How do you speak about yourself? And not just in regard to the things you say, but also the things you do, like how you carry yourself. And you would know this very well because you're a brand, a brand strategist. Yeah? So that's articulating your value proposition, because people will read, people will see certain things about you just based on how you carry yourself, even before you say a word. All right. So we work with people through that. And then the N part is nurturing, which is about continuing development. And so with that tool, we take people through the process. There's a bit of training, and then there's the coaching aspect that now helps them to self-discover, align, and implement, and continue growing. And so it's a tool that's been used by quite a number of professionals since 2020, actually hundreds of professionals in different settings, whether it's on one-on-one coaching or group settings within organizations, within schools. And it has opened the people's eyes to who they are, what they have, and what they can achieve, like their potential. Okay. And one of the things that comes out very clearly when somebody has gone through this whole process is the level of confidence increases. They feel like, they feel more confident in themselves, in their abilities, in what they have, and in what they can do. And then they go forth to deploy that confidence and those strengths to achieve impact. And the other thing that's very, very key about this framework is that it's aligned with certain career theories, okay, which is really important, just for the grounding of that whole framework. And then one of those theories is the cognitive career theory, which has as one of the core principles is that every individual has can I call it the agency, or let me say, every individual is responsible for their own career journey. All right. And so that's one of the core principles of the cognitive career theory. And so it's really a wholesome and a holistic tool that helps people to craft their own narratives of where they want to go and craft a path of how they're going to get there.
Great. Wow, that's a great framework. I'm sure the audience are really learning a lot. I have a follow-up question on that, what you just mentioned. So when it comes to, designing your career game plan, what are the three things or three indicators that, someone can identify or notice and say, I really need to redesign my career game plan? What are those three indicators? Yeah.
Okay. So let me first of all answer your question with a question.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Just as part of responding.
Yeah.
How do you know that you need to eat something or to drink? How do you know that you need to eat or to drink?
When I feel it could either be I am very hungry, that is my stomach is empty, or I have an urge to taste something. Yeah.
Or you're thirsty.
Or I'm
then
thirsty.
You need a drink.
Yes.
So it's the kind of the same way. It's similar with how do you know that you need to redesign or to design your career game plan? When you get the sense that, hey, there should be more than this, life, work, whatever. This is when you begin to question, is this all there is? Is this really, is this it? Yeah. Or when you begin to feel unsettled where you are, it could be that you've been in the same role for a very long time and it's no longer fulfilling, or it's boring, or it's no longer challenging for you. And then now you begin to ask yourself, wait, how long am I going to be in this role? Is there something I can do about it? So that's the other thing. You asked for 3 indicators. So one is the need when you just feel the urge to change, or to when you start to question whether there is more beyond what you're getting. When you're dissatisfied or unfulfilled in your work, or when you've lost the challenge, or when you just need an adventure, you just need something different, right? Yeah, so those are the things that I can think of. Yeah, or when you are not engaged in any activity with regard to work or making an impact, and you feel like, hey, I need to be doing more. Hey, I have XYZ skills or experience or education, and I'm not putting it to use. Why don't I see how I can put it to use? And the other thing is, perhaps when you notice a need or a problem or a challenge in your world or in your environment, and it bothers you, it disturbs you, okay? Then that means something inside of you is not comfortable with that situation. And most likely, there is some sort of a resource that you have, whether it's knowledge or a skill or whatever, inside you that can become a solution to that challenge.
Great.
So I gave you 4.
Awesome. Awesome. You've told us how your 2025 has started. You've mentioned what's important to you in this season. Perhaps someone out there is also asking themselves, how can I know what's important to me or for me in this season as well? So how is there a guide that you can, take us through, so that now if someone is not clear about what's important to them in this season, how can you guide them so that now they can be able to find out?
Yeah, that's another interesting question. How can you help someone know what's important for them in the season? These are some of the things that we kind of assume that people sort of know what's important for them. One of the things is just to ask them to, and this is really based on what I value as an individual, and it's not necessarily, it doesn't mean that that's the standard for everyone. So what I would do if I wasn't sure what was important for me in a certain season, I would pray. I would pray and ask God, hey God, what should I be thinking about as a priority now? Yeah. Why? Because, God is the creator. God, knows me, and he has a purpose for me upon the face of this earth. And so it's just developing that hunger and that curiosity to see, am I aligned with your purpose for me or with your will? And in one way or another, he will make it known, either through conversations like this, something sticks out or something pops out and you realize, hey, I could consider that, or something you read, or something you listen to. So for me, that would be the go-to, really. Or just work with a mentor or a coach or a close friend and say, hey, you've known me for a while, and you know where you've seen where I am, and you see the potential that I have. What are some of the things you would encourage me to consider during this season or during this year? So working with someone who knows you or who cares about you or is ahead of you in some aspects that you consider important could also be helpful to just help you think through. We call it a thinking partner. Yeah.
Great. Now you have been doing coaching and training for more than 12 years. So from your experience, what are some of the significant shifts you have seen in how professionals are approaching their careers?
One significant shift that comes to mind right now is just how people seem to be shifting away from this need for job security to thinking about, aligning the work that they do with their values or with what's important for them, and with the visions that they have of themselves for the future.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing that more and more, and especially this was accelerated by the COVID season. You know, so people starting to have existential questions like what's the meaning of all this? Why am I doing this? And I suppose that being forced or being put in a situation where we had to work differently than how we've been working before could have helped that, that thinking about what does this work mean. So I'm seeing more and more a shift with regard to people wanting to look at themselves in a more holistic way, as opposed to just wanting to develop their professional side or wanting to just get ahead in their career or in their organization, but looking at themselves in the whole package, which is great because that's really what a solid game plan does for you. You look at yourself as a whole person with a spirit, with a soul, with a mind, with a body that needs to be taken care of. And so there's a lot of focus on that. There's focus on wellness, mental wellness, and even physical wellness. So people are embracing that. People are also embracing portfolio careers. You find that you have this job here, and at the same time, you're looking in terms of, can I also be an entrepreneur, or can I also be a problem solver in this other aspect? Can I serve in this other aspect? So I see that a lot more now. Yeah.
Wow. Great. Let's talk about burnout. First of all, do you experience burnout?
I think, purely by God's grace, I haven't experienced burnout, but I have met people who have. I have coached clients who've experienced burnout. So I do know that it's not something you want to wish on anyone. Yeah.
And what are the characteristics of burnout, of burning out?
That's an interesting question. So the people that have coached that have experienced that, they've told me, in many different ways, the space where you just have this extreme fatigue, and I'm not speaking as an expert in burnout or from a position of knowing exactly that this indeed is burnout. That's how they've described it as burnout, where they're really fatigued, not really feeling like they have energy to do anything or to do work. They're finding themselves slugging. They're finding themselves even lacking interest, really, in even doing that work, just because of what it is doing to their bodies and to their minds. Yeah.
Wow. And now from the solutions you offer, when professionals come to you with, with burnout, what are some of the advices, the tips, the guides you give on how to balance, their ambition and their wellness? Yeah.
Okay, so I wouldn't really put it like from a solution provider perspective. I look at it more as part of the coaching journey. And there is an exercise that I take my clients through, and this is where we start looking at values, all right? So we have a whole bunch of, cards that one will take a look at and just select all that they feel are, all the things that they value, okay? Or rather, based on the description, based on whatever, and they say, this is one of my things that I value. And so we start from a bunch and narrow it down to 3 to 5 core ones that are non-negotiable, that you say, these ones I cannot do without. And so once we start from there, then we encourage, and ask questions that are helping them to bring out the prioritization and the alignment of other things that they are doing. How aligned are they with these values. And so just helping them, asking them questions that help them to recognize where there is lack of alignment or where there is already alignment that is existing. And so once they start looking at these non-negotiables, then that is what they prioritize. Okay? And so there is this quote by Stephen Covey that says, I hope I get it right. If I get it wrong, you edit. So he says something about, it's not about prioritizing what's on your schedule. It's about scheduling your priorities.
Wow.
Okay?
Wow.
Which means that you don't let your schedule dictate your day. You actually let your priorities determine what goes on your schedule.
Wow.
And once you adopt that perspective, then you find that it becomes easier to focus, it becomes easier to live out things, because the moment you start doing things that are conflicting with your values, then you end up even, feeling violated in a sense, all right, infringed upon. And so, and I think that's where the burnout will come in, because you're now taking upon things that may not necessarily be in line with what's important for you. And yes, I understand that sometimes burnout can come in the sense that maybe you're just overworked. And so that means that you need to have conversations with those you work with or with the authorities where you are, to really examine your workload and ensure that it's a level that is appropriate and a level that you can manage without harming your health or your well-being.
Wow.
Yeah.